Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk, the most fact-driven, unbiased, true crime channel. First on the docket today, prosecutors in the Murdaugh case have recused themselves. Second, Christian Bahania Rivera sentenced today. Chad Daybell's children speak out on his behalf. He was framed. Fourth, parents pay for sons' adult entertainment material. Fifth, another Mother of the Year contestant. Who's watching your children? And then finally, our winner for the Dumb Criminal Contestant of the Week last week and a new Dumb Criminal Contestant of the Day. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button as well as hit that little bell so that you receive notifications of when we go live or put up new content. Now, why is that important? Well, obviously on Tuesday night, we do our live show at 6 p.m. And as things develop, sometimes we're able to go live. For example, today we have a hearing for Lori Vallow at 3 p.m. It's a little unclear whether we're going to actually be able to watch it, but if we do, we'll bring it to you. Now, little late breaking news, even after we did the intro, apparently the government has responded to the motion by Lori Vallow's attorney, Mark Means, to intervene in Chad Daybell's case. So what does that mean? Well, normally there's not a motion to intervene in a criminal case. That's usually a civil case where somebody's saying, hey, I have a right in this particular case, and it could be affected, so please let me participate. So the government, and I remember when this motion was generally filed, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but Mark Means was behind it, so I figured, okay, let's see. So the government filed their response today, and they basically agree with me and said there's no basis under the rules for a motion to intervene in a criminal case, and that Lori Vallow's attorney's motion is based upon the Idaho Rules of Civil Procedure 24, where, that's where it would be for a civil case. But they say, hey, despite the objections as to the form of the defendant's motion to intervene, they believe that if there is a dual issue, since both of the cases in the cases involving Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell are filed separately for court proceedings purposes, that they should be treated the same when it comes to issues. Well, apparently, and we didn't know the gist of it until now, but apparently there is an issue regarding a conflict yet again that Mark Means would like to raise. And the state said, you know what? If there is an issue regarding the defendant's constitutional rights, hey, why don't we have that hearing and let's do it today, August 30th at 3 p.m. So we'll see if Mark Means is ready to go. If there's a conflict issue, we'll see if the court resolves it expeditiously or if we have to have a hearing, or maybe it's now Mark Means saying that he has a conflict and can no longer stay in the case. Who knows? You never know what you're going to get when Mark Means files something, let alone says something in court. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the latest on the Lori Vallow matter. All right, let's get to the docket today. First, the prosecutors in the Murdaugh case have recused themselves. All right, aficionados, before we get started, that's right, another message from one of our sponsors. Now remember, please support our sponsors because they support Crime Talk. And we talked about this the other week, and at first some people were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Scott would endorse something like this. But I'm telling you, this is not about you wanting to go live in the woods by yourself because you think the whole world is crumbling down. Now, you could certainly do that if you wanted to, but this is more for your and your family's protection, okay? Please go to crimetalkprep.com, all right? There, you can get your 4-week emergency food kit. you get $50 off and free shipping. You are going to be glad that you did. You don't know necessarily when an emergency is going to happen. Could I suggest as an example, for example, there was a hurricane this weekend in New Orleans. No power. They're talking many parts of the state, or at least in New Orleans, no power for nearly 1 million people for the next week. Do you think all those people were prepared? I doubt it. That's why you need to take care of yourself and your family. Do the responsible thing. Go to CrimeTalkPrep.com and get your 4-week emergency food kit. This is about taking care of you and your family. You'll be absolutely happy that you did. So it's been more than 2 weeks since the 14th Circuit Chief Prosecutor, that's basically the district attorney, stepped away from the murder investigation, and there is still no replacement prosecutor. So the question begs, what prompted Solicitor Duffy Stone to resign, and who will oversee the case now? Well, the 14th Circuit Solicitor Stone informed the South Carolina Attorney General's office that he would recuse himself from prosecuting the murders of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh, considering the events of today in the SLED investigation. That's the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, kind of like their state's FBI. And that was in regards to their August 11th letter. So the solicitor in South Carolina term is, like I said, the elected prosecutor. It's the DA. And so according to people familiar with the case down there, said that there could be something in the investigation expanding the earlier events, like the 2019 boat crash investigation, in which Solicitor Stone initially recused himself, or the murder investigation turning to someone associated with the office. The state police agency has offered little information about the killing of Paul and Maggie Murdaugh, and none whatsoever on the suspects or any motives whatsoever. Paul and Maggie, for those who don't recall, were found shot to death on the night of June 7th at the family's county estate. On Friday, the Attorney General's office declined to say whether it would actually handle the prosecution of the Murdaugh murder in-house at hand, or whether they would pass it off to one of the other South Carolina's 16 solicitors or district attorneys. The Attorney General prosecutors usually handle cases involving securities fraud, insurance fraud, internet crime against children, Medicaid fraud, human trafficking cases, environmental crimes, and violence against women cases. They don't have a specific listing for homicide, but I assure you they will have somebody at the Attorney General's office that can handle a homicide case. Several critics of the Attorney General are hoping that he would pass the case off to one of the other solicitors because they have experience basically doing guns and knife kind of cases. That's right, homicide cases. Now, the work done by Alex Murdaugh, as well as Paul's grandfather, former solicitor Randolph Murdaugh, for the solicitor's office was the reason the Solicitor Stone recused himself from the investigation of the fatal boat crash in 2019. Paul Murdaugh was subsequently indicted on charges of felony boating under the influence resulting in death. Make sure you check out the previous videos that we've done regarding the Murdaugh case. I think this is going to be a huge story. Anytime that you can show power, corruption, people are going to find that it's a little more common than most people think. Next on the docket, Christian Bahania Rivera sentenced for the death of Molly Tibbetts. And he got the sentence that was the only sentence required: life in prison. Now, it has been more than 3 years after Molly Tibbetts' death and 3+ months after Christian Bahania Rivera was convicted of murdering the 20-year-old University of Iowa student. He was finally sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As you may recall, the sentencing hearing was pushed back as a result of motions filed by his defense attorneys, basically alleging that there was new evidence that had come out regarding the case, and they requested a motion for a new trial as well. The judge denied both of the defense's request and ultimately sentenced Bahania Rivera, now 27 years old, to life without the possibility of parole and he has to pay $150,000 in restitution to Molly's estate. Good luck collecting on that. At a sentencing hearing, the defendant always has a right to make a statement in allocution, and he's usually the last person that gets to speak right before the judge imposes sentence. When the judge asked Mr. Bahania Rivera whether he would like to speak, he simply replied, "No, thank you." That is not unusual in a case that is going to go up on appeal, as anything you say can and will be used against you. You do not want to give up any appellate issues if somebody is expressing remorse at a sentencing hearing. It could come back and be used against the defendant. So that statement of "no thank you" was more than likely done on the advice of counsel. Next on the docket, Chad Daybell's children speak. And what have they got to say? Well, their father was framed. Chad Daybell's 5 adult children, Garth, Emma, Seth, Lee, and Mark, spoke with 48 hours in their first interview since their father's case made the national news. Now, Chad's children say their father was framed and had nothing to do with the deaths of Joshua, JJ, and Tylee Ryan. Chad's children have remained relatively quiet over the past 18 months, but Murray, Garth, and Seth attended their father's arraignment back on June 9th of this year. They wore masks and sat behind Daybell as he pled not guilty to multiple felony charges, including first-degree murder. Prosecutors are now seeking the death penalty in this case. When asked, how is it possible 2 children are found buried in your father's backyard and he had nothing to do with it, Emma responded, "He was framed." Now, Chad Daybell has recently waived his right to a speedy trial, so that trial that was supposed to start in early November is not going to take place. A hearing was scheduled for today, Monday, August 30th, but that hearing has been sealed by the judge, Stephen Boyce, and it won't be open to the public. Daybell's next court appearance then is scheduled for a change of venue hearing, which is now set for October 5th and 6th. Now, the 48 Hours episode, The Secrets of Chad Daybell's Backyard, airs Wednesday, September 1st at 9 p.m. Mountain Time. We'll certainly be watching. Now, from the teaser information that came out, there's no indication if they speak as to who may be responsible for the death of their mother, Tammy Daybell. We'll definitely want to watch and see if that subject matter is brought up. Next on the docket, parents have to pay for their son's adult entertainment material. Now, we brought you this case a while back, but there's been some further rulings on it. A federal judge in Michigan has ordered that the parents of David Working must pay damages for disposing of their adult son's vast free collection. Beth Working and Paul Working were going through a divorce and threw out their son's collection and are now ordered to pay $30,000 for the value of the collection, plus nearly $15,000 in attorney's fees. Now, David Working had been living at home with his parents, but moved out of his parents' house at the request of law enforcement after a series of violent sprees of throwing furniture. He left behind a large assortment of adult entertainment magazines, as well as videos dating from the 1970s to the mid-2000s. Quite the connoisseur. According to the court documents, Beth and Paul sent emails to their son saying, "I find your whole attitude toward women to be very disturbing. Women are not objects for you to pleasure yourself with. They are people created by God, just as you were, and you should be treated with dignity and respect. I do not possess your adult entertainment material. It is gone. It has been either destroyed or disposed of." End quote. The son demanded compensation and filed a lawsuit alleging one claim, and the judge noted statutory conversion under Michigan law. Now, that statutory conversion is a civil term, but it's the same term that one could be charged with. These parents are lucky they didn't get charged criminally as well for destroying this property. You can't destroy other people's property, sometimes even if you consider it to be abandoned. Well, the case ultimately wound up in federal court. You may say, why? Well, the son had moved from Michigan to Indiana, and when residents sue each other that are in different states, they can go to court in federal court and have their state issues resolved. Now, the parents argued that their son presented no valid claim and that the case should be dismissed. The judge disagreed and viewed the case as a rather clear-cut matter involving straightforward application of the Michigan law at the center of the dispute. So the moral of this story is, ladies and gentlemen, don't let your adult children move back home with you after they get a divorce when they have issues regarding adult entertainment. That's right. This is a disease. Yep, we've referred to it before. It's called TMM, too much mommy. Okay? And when you finally act, it's a little too late, and you shouldn't have allowed it to get to this point. There's no reason adult children need to move home other than your children returning home because maybe they're suffering some sort of illness. They probably shouldn't come back. I love my children, but they know they can stay probably no more than a week or two because, well, they're adults. They have to fend for themselves. Next on the docket, another contestant for the Mother of the Year award. Now, for those of you who don't understand sarcasm, this is sarcasm, okay? This next story is not about a good mother. In fact, she's a bad mother, but it's called sarcasm. So we don't need all the emails saying, Scott, how could you say this person is a good mother? All right, a Utah mother stabs her child who's 8 years old. That's right. The police found an 8-year-old boy bleeding from his throat at a Motel 6 in St. George, Utah. Now, the authorities have charged the injured child's mother, Megan Michelle Stewart, she's 28, with attempted murder. Stewart allegedly said she needed to stab her child for Satan and or Mother Mary. She also allegedly wished for her son to die after officers said he was being operated on in a nearby hospital. Not exactly what good mothers say. Now, according to the police, the boy was stabbed multiple times in the neck with a pair of scissors. He is currently recuperating in a St. George Regional Hospital and is expected to make a full recovery. Now, according to police, the mother admitted to trying to suffocate her son with a pillow before using the scissors. She also admitted to being high at the time. Oh, shocking. Stewart made an initial court appearance. She was ordered held without bail and reportedly said that she understood the charges against her. The defendant was also appointed a public defender. Her next court appearance is set for September 2nd. All right, let's take a quick recess before we get to who's watching your kids. Please go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to crimetalksearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did. Who is watching your kids? Well, a case right here in Colorado, down in Colorado Springs, jurors convicted a daycare owner by the name of Carla Marie Faith. And what was Miss Faith doing that got her charged and now convicted? Well, according to the prosecutors, and the jury agreed, she was hiding 26, that's right, 26 toddlers behind a false wall leading to a basement at her home in Colorado Springs. Now, Faith's defense attorneys argued at trial that the state didn't prove that she hurt any of the children. The prosecutor, however, maintained that none of the children had to be hurt to justify the 26 counts of misdemeanor child abuse. There just had to be the risk of physical or mental injury. The district attorney is probably correct on this particular charge. All right. Now, there was body cam video that reportedly showed Faith lying to the police officer, saying at first that she was not taking care of any children, and then asserting, well, that maybe they were at the park. The jury found Faith guilty of the child abuse charges, all 26 of them, as well as 1 count of attempting to influence a peace officer and 3 counts of operating a daycare without a license. The jury also convicted Faith's employee and co-defendant Christina Swagger of the 26 counts of child abuse and a count of attempting to influence a public official and obstructing a peace officer. Wow. Okay, obviously there's a reason why there are regulations regarding the number of children that can be monitored or watched at a daycare facility. The reason they have those numbers is because they want to make sure the children are not placed in a dangerous situation and there's somebody that's not watching the children. Obviously, these 2 defendants had set up some sort of crazy child care scam. The money must have been really good, but how could 2 people possibly watch 26 children? They can't. And they knew what they were doing was illegal, hence the reason for the fake wall, so nobody would know what was going on. And then lying to the police. Yes, that is attempting to influence a public official. Not when you tell the officer, oh, I didn't know how fast I was going, but when you're actively trying to send the officer on their way because there's nothing going on here. Nothing going on here, officer, move along. That's attempting to influence a public official. Sounds like the jury got it correct. All right, next on the docket, our dumb criminal contestant winner from last week, Moises Dona Robles. That's right. He's the man that was high on drugs who scaled the wall to get into the jail only to be found in jail in civilian attire, hence the reason why he was contacted, whereupon he told the police that he had drugs and that he was high and that he had broken into the jail. Mr. Robles, congratulations. You are a dumb criminal contestant of the winner of the week from last week, and that's right. We're going to send you a mug. Hopefully you will enjoy it. Maybe enjoy something of the non-alcoholic flavor, and maybe you'll keep out of trouble. Apparently you can't handle your drugs and alcohol. All right, finally today, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Please meet Christina Revels Glick. Now, she was 34 years old and arrested for pleasuring herself with an instrument on a Georgia beach. Now, the woman, according to witnesses who talked to the police, began using the instrument, the apparent vibrator, to pleasure herself, adding that she could hear her moaning. That's right, the witness could hear her moaning. And after about 5 minutes, the woman gathered her belongings and departed. Now, the woman admitted to pleasuring herself at the beach with the vibrator and advised that she had put it in between her legs and that it was covered with a towel. Oh, so I guess that makes it okay. And that she believed no one saw because it only took her 20 seconds to reach an orgasm. Miss Revels Glick was later booked for indecent exposure and disorderly conduct. Why? That's right, because somebody did in fact see her pleasuring herself in public, which is a crime. Now, Miss Revels Glick, this law of indecent exposure and disorderly conduct is not about whether you think anyone saw it, but whether somebody else saw it. So even though it happened rather quickly and you believe that it was under a blanket, guess what? It still may meet the definition of indecent exposure because somebody saw something. So, Miss Revels Glick, hey, good initiative, poor judgment. Next time you need to take care of yourself like that, just don't do it on the beach, or make sure absolutely no one else is out there watching. All right. That's all we have for you today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk.